Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be discussing the rise of television in America and some of the different ways in which it has influenced our culture.
First, we can consider the start of the second wave of feminism. On the one hand, during the 50s, you still had conservative shows that held women in a domestic role. The Donna Reed Show depicts the ideal mother living in an ideal suburban home, who does all these domestic chores to serve her family. It is clear that this show is meant to persuade women to appreciate their domestic roles in the household, but there were other shows during the 50s that contradicted this view. They were beginning to show women holding a more equal role in society.
This clip from I Love Lucy shows the main characters Lucy and Ethel on their first day working at a chocolate factory. The two women were making money for themselves while their husbands took on roles in the household. The use of humor helps the audience to digest the more progressive idea of women in the workplace and men in the home. These two shows depicted the contrasting views of the time and helped to kickstart the second wave of feminism that lasted from the 60s to the 70s.
When you take a look at television from the 70s, you can see the influence of this movement even more.
You work for a news show and you wouldn't say who gave you a story and that's why you're here?
Yes.
In other words, they put you in jail just for doing your job?
Yep, that's right. Same as us.
This clip from the Mary Tyler Moore Show follows a female reporter trying to exercise her right of free speech in society. It makes a statement about gender roles and brings up another interesting point of the time, the Watergate scandal. Television was used to address public concerns regarding government corruption after President Nixon broke the public's trust by sending spies to the National Democratic Convention at the Watergate Hotel. Public shock was expressed and amplified through the use of media, and that created a more adversarial relationship between the government and the press. In this way, that clip exhibited freedom of the press, but there were other shows that were on the opposite side of the spectrum and could be viewed as government propaganda.
Airport security is perfect disguise, right?
Seems a little obvious to me.
Obviously perfect. Ah, here they come. You two, shoes off.
I don't know about you, but I sure feel secure.
The Rocky and Bullwinkle show from the 60s was a type of Cold War propaganda that promoted public hysteria. It taught kids to fear Russians and to look out for Soviet spies that had infiltrated the population. This generated public support for the Cold War from the population who wanted to defend themselves against the Soviets. Looking into the 70s again, we see the Cold War continue, the second wave of feminism progress, and mistrust in the government persist. However, we can also see significant changes in the civil rights realm. For the first time, there was diverse racial representation on television and sitcoms such as All in the Family and Good Times. They addressed racism by showing white Americans what it was like to live as a black American in a racist country.
Think about what you're doing to the black community. Gambling is a terrible image.
Oh, yeah, Michael? Well, I think 4 people living in a 2-bedroom apartment paying tomorrow's prices for yesterday's food is a worse image.
There are 2 roads out of the ghetto. So far, we have managed to stay on the right road.
And that's what's taking us so long to get out of here.
This clip brings light to the economic disadvantages that African Americans faced and shows the problem with racially based class stratification. This would help white American viewers to gain knowledge on the implications of their actions and hopefully reconsider their participation in white flight. After all, this show was made following the addition of the Fair Housing Act to the Civil Rights Act in 1968, and housing class discrimination was a heated topic of the time.
Oh, Mr. Bunker?
And if you are selling magazines, nobody in this house knows how to read.
I'm not selling anything. I'm from next door.
Oh, you're working there, huh?
You think I'm the maid, don't you?
Well, what else could you be? I mean to say that.
I'm your new neighbor, Polly Lewis. How do you do?
We can see that Archie has racist views that led him to make a quick assumption about his new neighbor and racially profile her in the process. This clip called out white Americans in a humorous way to get them to understand the implications of their prejudice assumptions.
It is clear that these television shows were accelerating the cultural changes of the times by exhibiting a range of societal views. They stimulated conversation about topics such as gender roles, civil rights, and government corruption. Overall, we can see that the rise of television connected the country in such a way that the issues of the times were blown up for all to see. The effects of this became apparent as the country moved from the 50s to the 70s, and television shows became more progressive. However, to this day, they still play the same role in voicing the opinions of the population.
We hope this video helped you to understand the impact of television during the 50s and 70s. Thank you for watching!